Hey, welcome to another tutorial over 3DS. I'm not sure what we call these, but I'm gonna throw some of these out at you once a week or so. Things that not everyone is gonna definitely use in their own animations, but they're definitely tips and things that you should know about 3DS and what you can create in here. What I'm going to touch on today is kind of an intro into particle systems and particle flow. Basically, what that means is if you want something to react. Let's say something in this example is going to be something that kind of explodes. And what happens to all those little pieces. And what a particle flow will do is basically apply physics and let you alter the dynamics of those little bits and pieces that fly around. This is also kind of a way to get into liquid flowing and cloud creating and things that spray. All of this is kind of included under this umbrella. So I'm going to start off real basic though, real simple. And I'm going to start by going to create. I'm going to go to compound objects, and I'm going to use what's called a blob mesh. Click on that little guy there. I'm going to drop it and click right here, drop that blob right there. I need that blob to react to something, so I'm going to go to particle systems, and I'm going to choose particle flow source, PF source here, and I'm going to drag out the system underneath the blob that I just made. All right, so there's an arrow pointing there. It basically tells you which way that system is going to be flowing. So since I have that there, you'll see that it flows downward, okay, which is fine for now. It doesn't really matter. What I want to do is assign this system to this blob. So I'm going to right click off of that guy, choose my blob mesh, go to modify. I want to blob objects. I want to pick this guy. So I'm going to go to where it highlights, select it. It is now going to react. And you notice there's a little change here. It's going to react. My blob is going to react to this particle flow system. And so now, as I do this, you see little chunks of my blob get thrown down, which is great. Let's say I don't want my chunks of blob to just drop down like that. If I do that and I render it, see what it looks like. It looks like little cubes. I don't have cubes. I don't want there to be cubes. Maybe you want there to be cubes. Whatever. But if you wanted to make some changes to that, I'm going to select my particle flow source. I'm going to click on particle view. This little window pops up. Our computers are old, all right? So this happens. Like, it can't catch up to what 3DS wants it to do. So I'm going to maximize this and minimize it, and now the information shows up. So I'm going to start off with, here's my PF source, my particle flow source. I want my objects to render out as, not geometry, but none. I want it to render out as blobs. I want you to play around with this and see what kind of different effects you can get. I'm going to go to my event 1, which is basically my blob. And I'm going to look at the position. Everything right here, I'm just going to keep the same. Uniqueness, that means the way it explodes is going to be very unique and random. Speed, I'm going to slow this down because I don't want it to overwork my computer. For demo purposes, I'm going to make this something smaller, about half that. Variation, you can change the variation if you want to. Experiment with that, how you want the speed for each of the different exploding objects to change. So let's say I'll make it like 5. That way they're not all shooting out the same exact speed. Direction. I don't want it to follow that downward arrow. I want mine, for this example, just to look random. And rotation, I want that to be random. Shape, it says cube, but don't worry about that. We changed that. The size for this, I want to change to, let me make it 30. All right. So, got all that. I'm going to keep this the way it is. All that looks good. So I'm going to click on my object here, and we'll see what happens. I go to animate it now. Blah, 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 blah. Just like slime, just like oozing exploding out of this one little orb. Alright, so that looks pretty good. I want to apply some materials to this. I already have one set up here to make it kind of look like slime, but feel free to play around with these different. If you like a 2D effect on a 3D work, ink and paint, pretty cool. Play around with architectural as well. There's some cool things in there. Water is in there. Lots of different metals and mirrors and things like that you can find in architectural. So if I did that and went to my template here, glass, I can make it look like glass. Glass is going to work best if you have a background in your environment placed in there. I want it to look like plastic. You can do that. Paper, translucent paper, all of this is pretty cool stuff. Play around with those different things. This one right here is a physical material that I chose, and I think I did like a glossy plastic. I should make it matte plastic. And I'm going to make, because I was looking for something not as reflective. So I'm going to go with something that is like really funky. So I'm going to close that out, see what that looks like. I'm going to stop it somewhere in here. I got a lot of blobs happening. I'm going to render that now, see what that looks like. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So it's going to automatically render this out for 100 frames. In different stages, see what it looks like. I'm going to press 8, and if you wanted to, you can change your environment map. You can put your own background there. You can use the one that 3ds provides as the sun and sky. You can change it to a gradient if you wanted to play around with a different, just a gradient background. Play around with that, or find your own background. When you find your own background, you would import it by selecting bitmap, and you can choose the file that you have saved on your computer. But for right now, I'm just going to keep it as black, and I'm going to animate this out. But when you animate it, F10 on this to check out my parameters for rendering, keep it at scan line. Do the range, the full range from 0 to 100 frames. Don't do HDTV unless you plan on doing this after class. If you're doing this in class, rendering it out, go to custom and choose something, just a good custom one. The best one that it shows here is 800 by 600. Save it to your H drive. Always save your stuff to your H drive. By the way, don't save it to your locally on your computer. Other people can get access to that, even though you think you might not be able to. People can get onto that and delete and mess around with your stuff. So save it to your H drive as blob mesh, and in fact, you'll save it to your H drive. I'm going to save it here. I want you to save it as your name and blob mesh. Save it as an AVI, and make sure when you click save, just keep that as 0. That's fine. And then render it out, and that should be it. So if there's any questions about creating this blob mesh particle flow animation, come see me. Like I said, we're gonna start doing these quick little tutorials, like once a week at least, just to throw something new at you, and kind of mix it up a little bit. So come see me one-on-one if this is giving you problems, and I'll help you out. Thanks.